Good morning, everybody. This is Todd with the Forex Nitty Gritty Insiders daily video. Hope you had a great evening since we talked last, and I hope that you had a great week this week. The markets were a little bit choppy, but we did find some opportunities to trade some trends that occurred, and one of them you can see here is on this U.S. Japanese yen, which is a little bit different than what we've normally been looking at because this has been such a flat moving pair over the last while. Let's just look at the daily charts and you can see that until this week we really didn't have much in the way of movement. I'm going to just highlight this area. You can see down here where it just really chopped back and forth, and then finally we broke out of this area, kind of came up off of this area of support here, broke through this, and now we had a nice little run. And if you were looking at this for some opportunities to trade, you would have had some good setups occurring. And that's one thing that we want to be able to identify is when those trends are starting to move again. Now, we could be at a point where it starts to settle down and then look for some more longer term opportunities to trade. But for right now, let's go back to our 15-minute chart, or we could go to the 30-minute or even the hourly chart to get some setups on here. And we'll just look at the 30. But remember, when we're looking to enter into a trade using the simple trading method, the first thing, and let me just simple trading method. The first thing that we want to do is evaluate what is going on with the price action and look at the trend that's occurring. Now this one's pretty obvious, and this is, if we can focus on the obvious, then that's going to be the best, because if it's too hard to determine whether it's in an uptrend or a downtrend or a sideways trend, well, it's probably not worth trading. And so when we see something that's moving up strongly like we see this, it's pretty easy to say that the trend is moving up. You know, pretty consistent higher highs, fairly deliberate in its movements, and I will put this DEL, deliberate in their movements. And we talked about this week. You know, something is too flat or too volatile, we want to be careful about that. The second thing, for an uptrend, we want to look for it to be coming back to an area of support. And when we have it coming back to support, you know, so if we're looking at a movement here and it pulls back to this support area right in here, well, the idea is that at that point it's being supported by people coming in and buying, pushing this back up off of that level. And once it starts to move up off of that level, that's really where we want to key in on entering into that trade, just because it's going to move up off of that. The third thing is, in this case, coming up off the HH3, moving above the highest high of the last trade. We can put a buy stop order in there just to enter into it as it starts to move up off of that. And then I will put a fourth thing on here is our PS, position size, risk management. Make sure that we get in at the proper size based off of where we're going to place our stop loss, which is going to be below the most recent low there. Okay, so let's just take a look at what's going on here. You know, there were a couple times where we had nice little pullbacks, and I'm going to zoom in on this. By the way, we wanted to put a 40-period simple moving average, something like that, to be able to look for the times where it pulls back to some support. Now, we'll use, you know, this area here as an example. So let me pull this up a little bit more. So what we have is we can see that we're pulling back to some support. We get this pullback here, and we use, you know, we can use a past area of, you know, highs or lows or a trend line. Here we could use the moving average, but you can see these areas where the market is pulling back towards an area of support. And once it does that, we need to think that there may be a bounce up off that in the direction of the overall trend. So with this, you can see a couple of things. With this particular entry here, our entry would have been right there. Now this one ran up a little bit and then pulled back. And so depending on where you had your targets, or at least your first profit target where you might have taken part of the position, you may have said it was just at this previous high here, and then you would have gotten out a half, moved the stop to break even. Our stop in this could have been below the most recent low right here. So we're going to make those adjustments on there. Now with this next one, this pullback, the entry, this would have been right here. And with this pullback here, the entry would have been right here. Now on a 30-minute chart, we're not looking for hundreds of pips. We're looking for, a decent move, and then being able to adjust our stops that are going to be set below the most recent low areas. Once it moves up to our first profit target, putting in a break-even stop, so that if it does reverse on us, which we know that if something is trending, we're going to have a movement up and then a pullback, movement up and then pullback, movement up and then pullback, and so forth. So make sure you understand that. Make sure you know those rules and practice with it. And if you have questions, feel free to let me know. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll be back on Monday to take a look at how the markets open up over the weekend and see if there's anything that we can find to trade. So until then, have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you soon.